The day the alien ship arrived was like no other in the village's history. It was early morning when the sky suddenly changed colors. At first, it was just a strange light, shimmering and moving quickly across the blue sky. People stopped what they were doing, farmers in their fields, children playing by the river, and elders sitting outside their homes. Everyone looked up, curiosity mixed with fear. What could this strange light be? No one had ever seen anything like it before. Slowly, the light grew bigger and brighter until a large ship appeared above the village. It was not like any airplane or helicopter anyone had seen on Earth. It was huge, smooth, and shining with colors that seemed to change with every moment. The ship floated quietly, almost like it was watching the village below. The villagers hurried inside their homes, shutting doors and windows. Whispers spread quickly. Was this a visit or a threat? No one knew. Then, the ship's door opened. A ramp extended down to the ground, and from it stepped a figure. She was tall and strong, standing with confidence. Her armor was shining and strange, made of materials that no one could recognize. Her helmet was held under one arm, showing her face for the first time. The villagers gasped. She was not like any human. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes were large and shining with a strange light. But what caught the attention of everyone was her sharp, serious look. She did not smile or speak. Instead, she walked slowly toward the village center, every step careful and sure. Stories about her came fast. From travelers and distant messages, people had heard about an alien commander who was fierce and unbeatable. She was said to be a great warrior, leading many battles and never losing. The fear of her was not only because of her power, but also because of what she represented, the unknown, the dangerous, and the unstoppable. The villagers felt small and weak next to her. But while others were afraid, a young boy named Eli watched quietly from behind a tree. Eli was different from the others. He was not scared of the alien woman because of stories or rumors. Instead, he felt something strange when he looked at her eyes. Most people saw only anger or coldness, but Eli saw sadness. There was a softness behind those eyes, as if she carried a heavy weight no one else could see. This made him curious and a little sad, too. Eli was only 12 years old, but he was thoughtful and kind. He loved reading old books and learning about the stars. He often dreamed of meeting someone from another world, not to fight or be scared, but to understand them. Now that dream was real. But it was also frightening because everyone around him was full of fear and suspicion. The alien commander walked through the village slowly. She looked at the small houses, the fields, and the people hiding inside. She did not speak, but her presence was loud. The villagers kept their distance, afraid to anger her. Yet Eli noticed something else. Her shoulders were not stiff with pride, but seemed tired. Her hands sometimes trembled just a little. It was like she was carrying invisible chains, heavy and hard to bear. At one point, Eli's little sister dropped her toy near where the commander stood. The toy was a small, wooden horse, carved by their father. It rolled to her feet, and the girl ran after it, afraid. The commander bent down slowly and picked up the toy. For a moment, her sharp eyes softened even more. She looked at the wooden horse as if it reminded her of something important, something lost. Then she gave it back to the girl with a quiet nod. That small act surprised Eli. How could someone so feared show such kindness? It was a mystery he wanted to understand. Days passed, and the alien commander stayed near the village. Soldiers from her ship guarded her closely. The villagers kept their homes closed and stayed silent. But Eli often found ways to watch her from a distance. He saw her looking at the stars every night, her face full of thoughts and memories. One evening. Eli found himself near the ship's landing place when the commander stepped outside alone. She did not wear her helmet. and the moonlight showed the sadness in her eyes clearly. Eli felt a strong urge to speak, but he was afraid. Still, he said softly, "Are you sad?" The commander looked at him with surprise. No one had spoken to her like that before. After a long silence, she nodded slowly. Then she said in a quiet voice, "I have seen much sadness in my life." Eli didn't understand everything, but he knew this was the start of something different. He didn't want to fear her anymore. He wanted to learn why she was sad and if he could help. From that night, the village was never the same. The fear of the alien commander began to change, especially for Eli. He saw beyond the armor and the stories. He saw a person who had lived through pain and who needed a friend. But the road ahead was not easy. Many people still feared the commander, and there were dangers that no one yet understood. Eli's courage to see the sadness in her eyes was the first step in a long journey, one that would change the lives of everyone in the village, and perhaps even the future of two worlds. Eli could not stop thinking about the commander and the sadness he had seen in her eyes. He wanted to understand her more. But it was not easy because the commander was always surrounded by her soldiers and rarely spoke to anyone from the village. People still feared her, and they warned Eli to stay away. They said she was dangerous and that anyone who got close to her might be hurt. But Eli was curious and kind. He believed that there was more to the commander than the cold, strong leader everyone talked about. One day, after the sun had set and the village had grown quiet, Eli decided to take a small step. He walked quietly to the edge of the area where the alien ship was parked, hoping to catch a glimpse of the commander. The air was cool, and the stars were shining brightly above. From a distance, Eli saw the commander standing alone, looking at the stars. She did not wear her helmet, and her blue skin seemed soft under the moonlight. Eli wanted to say something, but he was unsure what words to use. Finally, he spoke softly. "Why do you look so sad?" The commander turned slowly and looked at Eli. Her eyes, which were usually strong and sharp, now seemed tired and full of pain. She did not answer right away. Instead, she looked up at the sky, as if remembering something far away. After a moment, she spoke in a calm voice. "I have lost much. My family, my home. Everything I loved was taken from me in a great war." Eli listened carefully. He had heard stories about wars before, but he had never imagined that the commander had suffered so much. "Was it very bad?" he asked gently. "Yes," she replied. "It was the darkest time. Many people died, and the pain did not end. I became a commander to protect those who survived, but the cost has been great. I carry the weight of all that loss every day." Eli's heart felt heavy. He could see that the commander's sadness was not weakness. It was a deep part of her story. She was strong because she had to be. But inside, she was hurting. In the days that followed, Eli watched the commander carefully. She seemed lonely, even when surrounded by her soldiers. Sometimes she would close her eyes and breathe slowly, as if trying to calm her mind. At other times, she would walk through the fields near the village, looking at the trees and the sky, as if searching for peace. Eli wanted to help, but did not know how. He thought about the stories he had read in books about kindness and friendship. Maybe if he showed the commander a little kindness, she might feel less alone. One afternoon, Eli gathered some wildflowers from the nearby forest. They were simple flowers, small and colorful, but beautiful in their own way. He walked to where the commander often stood and gently placed the flowers near her boots. When the commander saw the flowers, she was surprised. No one had ever given her a gift before. She looked down at the bright colors and smiled, a small, soft smile that touched Eli's heart. From that moment, something changed between them. The commander began to trust Eli a little more. She allowed him to come closer and even shared small stories about her home planet. She told him about the blue mountains where she grew up, the rivers that shined like silver, and the warm sun that once made her feel happy. Eli listened carefully. He realized that the commander was not just a leader or a warrior. She was someone who had dreams, memories, and feelings, just like him. The sadness in her eyes was a sign of all she had been through, but also a sign that she still hoped for something better. Not everyone in the village was happy about Eli's friendship with the commander. Some adults whispered that Eli was foolish to trust an alien who had brought fear and danger. They warned him to stay away, saying that the commander's sadness was a trick to make people weak. But Eli did not listen. He knew that understanding and kindness were more powerful than fear. He wanted to be a bridge between the commander and the villagers, hoping that one day they could all live in peace. Meanwhile, the commander faced many challenges. Her people, the aliens who had traveled across the stars with her, expected her to be strong and fearless. They needed her to lead battles and defend their ship, but the commander felt torn. She did not want to fight anymore, but she also could not ignore her duty. At night, she would often look at Eli's village from her ship's window. She saw children playing, families sharing meals, and the simple joys of life that seemed so far away from the battles she had known. For a moment, she wished she could leave her armor behind and live a peaceful life like that. But she knew it was not possible. Not yet. Eli understood this too. He saw the struggle inside the commander, the conflict between the warrior she had to be and the person she wanted to become. He wanted to help her find a way to heal, to find peace not just for herself, but for her people as well. One day, Eli decided to write a letter. It was a simple letter written on paper with a pencil. He told the commander that she was not alone, that her sadness was seen and understood. He promised to be her friend no matter what. He gave the letter to one of the commander's soldiers, asking them to deliver it safely. The commander read the letter quietly, a tear falling down her cheek. No one had ever spoken to her with such kindness. The letter gave her hope, a small light in the darkness she had carried for so long. From that day forward, the bond between Eli and the commander grew stronger. She began to open up more, sharing her fears and hopes. Eli promised to help her find a way to bring peace between their worlds. But their journey was just beginning. The sadness in the commander's eyes was still there, but now it was mixed with something new, hope. The bond between Eli and the commander grew slowly but surely. The villagers still kept their distance, fearful of the alien leader who had once been a symbol of war and power. But Eli saw beyond the stories told by others. He saw a woman who was tired and lonely, carrying a sadness so deep that it almost seemed to weigh her down. For Eli, their friendship was a secret treasure, something he protected with all his heart. Each day, Eli found small moments to be near the commander. Sometimes, he would watch from behind a tree as she studied the stars, tracing the constellations with her finger. Other times, he would leave little gifts near her resting place, wildflowers, smooth stones, or simple drawings he made of the village and the night sky. At first, the commander accepted these gifts silently, but soon she began to respond in small ways. A nod, a soft smile, or the quiet presence of sitting nearby. One evening, Eli gathered his courage and spoke to her again. "Why do you look at the stars every night?" he asked. The commander's eyes softened as she replied, "The stars remind me of home. They are the same no matter where you are. When I look at them, I remember who I am beneath this armor." Eli listened carefully, understanding more about the commander's pain and hope. She told him stories of her planet, a beautiful world full of colors and life, now scarred by war. She spoke of her family, the people she lost and the friends who had helped her survive. Her voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of many years. Over time, the commander began to share more than just stories. She let Eli see her softer side, the moments of doubt, the fears she tried to hide, and the hope she still held on to. For the first time in a long while, she felt someone cared without fear or judgment. Eli's kindness and patience gave her strength. She started to dream of a different future, one where she could be more than a commander, more than a warrior. But those dreams were fragile. The world around them was still full of danger and mistrust. The commander's soldiers watched, their growing friendship with suspicion. They warned her not to let her guard down, reminding her of the threats beyond the village. The commander knew they were right, but for the first time, she felt a connection that gave her courage. One day, Eli invited the commander to see the village during a festival. It was a celebration of harvest, filled with music, dancing, and laughter. At first, she was hesitant, worried about the villagers' reactions, but Eli promised to stand by her side. When they arrived, many villagers stared, afraid at first. But Eli's presence beside the commander showed them she was not alone. Slowly, some came forward offering food and smiles. The commander was touched by the warmth, and her sadness seemed to lighten just a little. That night, as they sat under the stars, the commander said to Eli, "You have shown me kindness I never expected. You helped me see that I can be more than what I was told to be." Eli smiled. "You are more than your armor and your battles. You have a heart that can heal and inspire." Their friendship became a symbol of hope, a bridge between two worlds that feared each other. But the commander knew there were still many challenges ahead. The war had not ended, and her people needed her to be strong. The sadness in her eyes was still there, but now it was mixed with a quiet determination to find peace. The commander's inner struggle became more difficult each day. The weight of her responsibilities pressed on her like a heavy stone. Her people expected her to be fearless, to lead them to victory in battles that seemed never-ending. But the commander longed for peace, for a chance to live without fighting. Eli watched her struggle silently, wishing he could carry some of her burden. He saw the moments when she closed her eyes tightly, trying to block out the noise of war and duty. He noticed how the sadness in her eyes grew deeper after every battle, like wounds that never healed. The commander's soldiers grew impatient with her hesitation. They wanted a leader who was strong and unyielding, not one who dreamed of peace. Some whispered that her kindness to Eli was a weakness, a dangerous distraction. The commander knew she had to be careful, balancing her duty with her growing hope for a better future. One day, news came that a battle was approaching near their village. The commander had to prepare her people, rally the soldiers, and make plans. It was a test of her leadership and strength. Eli wanted to help, but felt powerless against the forces of war. As the battle drew near, the commander took a moment to walk through the village. She saw families packing their belongings, children holding their parents' hands tightly, and the fear in everyone's eyes. The sadness she carried was now shared by many. Eli found her near the river, where she often went to think. "You don't have to carry this alone," he said softly. "We can find another way, one without fighting." The commander looked at him, her eyes shining with tears. "I want to believe that, but my people need me. I cannot turn my back on them." Eli reached out and took her hand gently. "Then let me help you. Together, maybe we can find peace." In the days that followed, the commander made a choice. Instead of leading her people into battle, she decided to try something different. She sent a message to the leaders of the opposing forces asking for a meeting, a chance to talk, not fight. The decision shocked many. Some of her soldiers were angry, calling her weak. But Eli stood by her side, offering hope and courage. The meeting was tense. Both sides arrived with guards and weapons ready. But the commander spoke calmly, sharing her story, her pain, and her desire for peace. She talked about the children who deserved to live without fear, and the families who wanted to rebuild their homes. Slowly, the leaders listened. They saw in her eyes the truth of her words, the sadness of war, and the hope for a better future. The meeting did not end all conflicts, but it was the first step toward peace. The commander's courage to choose kindness over battle inspired many. Back in the village, the people began to see her differently. The fear turned into respect. The sadness in her eyes was no longer just sorrow, but a symbol of hope and healing. Eli and the commander knew their journey was far from over, but together they had started something new, a story of friendship, courage, and the belief that even the deepest sadness could lead to a brighter tomorrow. After the meeting, things began to change slowly but surely. The commander had taken a brave step, choosing to try peace instead of war. It was not easy. Many of her own people did not understand and were still angry. Some even called her a traitor. But she knew that if there was any hope for a better future, she had to keep trying. Eli stood by her side, offering quiet support and hope. In the village, people started to talk differently about the commander. Fear was still there, but it mixed with something new, respect. They saw that she was not just a warrior who brought danger, but someone who wanted peace for everyone. Children who once hid now looked curiously at the commander when she walked through the streets. Slowly, the walls between the alien visitors and the villagers began to come down. The commander spent more time with Eli and the villagers. She helped, with daily tasks, shared stories, and even smiled more often. Each small act brought her closer to the people she had once seemed so different from. The sadness in her eyes did not disappear completely. Some pains do not leave quickly, but it grew softer. There was hope and healing now, something stronger than sadness. One day, the commander and Eli stood on a small hill overlooking the village and the ship. The sun was setting, painting the sky with colors of orange, pink, and purple. It was a quiet moment but full of meaning. "I never thought I could find peace here," the commander said softly. "The sadness is still inside me, but now I see that I am not alone." Eli smiled. "You will never be alone. We will face whatever comes together." Their friendship had changed not only their own lives, but the future of both their worlds. The commander was no longer just a figure of fear. She had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the strongest warriors can have kindness and dreams for peace. As time passed, the commander helped create new ways for the aliens and humans to live side by side. They shared knowledge, helped each other with work, and celebrated their differences. The village grew stronger and more peaceful. And though challenges still came, the sadness in the commander's eyes was now joined by a steady light, a light of hope, friendship, and a future worth fighting for. Eli knew their journey was just beginning, but he felt ready. Together, they had shown that fear can be replaced by understanding and that even the deepest sadness can lead to new beginnings.